So, everybody, welcome again to our Summer of Cyber um, series here. And today we're going to be talking with Phillip Wylie from Cycognito and so many other things that Phil does. He's got like 15 presentations coming up in the next 2 weeks. So, he's going to talk about some of those things. The other thing is, I want to remind all of you that next week we have our first Raíces CTF competition. And this is a fundraiser so that we can bring our team to the cyber games, the global cyber games in Las Vegas, a charity competition. Whoever wins it gets a big pot of money for their charities. So please help us bring a team there. So without um, any ado, let us welcome Phillip Wylie. Phillip, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to finally be presenting to you guys. See a lot of familiar handles and names out there, and look forward to seeing some of you in person in Vegas soon. And just have to give a shout out to Joa Constrictor. That's a very, very cool name. I'm into puns, so in dad jokes. So that when I saw that name on Twitter earlier when you were sharing about it, I thought that's awesome. So thanks everyone for joining. And good to see other familiar faces. And David, look forward to seeing David in Vegas.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. So at any rate, just kind of a little bit about me. I should have this screen running here. Oops. Let's see. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. So just kind of a little bit about me. As Eric mentioned, I work for Cycognito. My role there is enablement and offensive security evangelism. So part of my role is speaking at conferences, and I teach people internally on offensive security to help our salespeople understand offensive security, because our product covers a lot of the same similar functions that a pen test or a vulnerability assessment does. So my background is offensive security. I spent 10 years as a pen tester. Out of 5 of that, I was a consultant. So I got a lot of experience with a lot of things really quick, because I worked for a mortgage company, and I got laid off in 2012. And I worked on the application security team. And through working in application security, I found out about pen testing. And so this was kind of how I decided what I wanted to do next in my career, because I was managing third-party pen tests. We'd have consultants do web application pen tests for our company. And I was doing some web application vulnerability scanning and really got interested in pen testing. So I got laid off and applied for a job as a pen tester consulting for Verizon, and I got the job. So one of the things I encourage anyone is, if you want to do something, don't, let it hold you back. Maybe if you don't have the experience, it's all about timing and the person you're interviewing with. I got the job because I was passionate about learning. I had a home lab. My soon to be hiring manager, he was interested that I was building stuff at home. I taught myself web design. I was hosting my customers' websites on a Red Hat Linux server running Apache web server in my home. I was managing DNS, set up email forwarders and all that. So this was, he loved it because he was one of these people that believed in learning to build, to learn how to protect or learn how to hack. So, it's all about timing, and there's a lot of luck involved with getting careers in cybersecurity. If I would have interviewed with another company, I wouldn't have got the job. So the right person at the right time, and I was able to get the job. I said the right things this manager wanted to hear. So I've also worked, the last half of my offensive security career was working as an internal resource with the consulting. A lot of consulting gigs required you to travel. I got tired of all the travel because I would be gone 2 to 4 weeks at a time. And, I was able to travel home on the weekends, but the problem with that is I would get home late Friday night or Saturday morning. I'd have to wash clothes, pack up, and get ready to go back out of town. So I really didn't even end up with a full day off. So I kind of didn't like the lack of work-life balance there. So I went to work as an internal pen tester. But I do value the experience I got as a consultant because I got to learn how to do a lot of different things in a shorter period of time. If you're in one company, and depending on the size of the company, if you're working for a small company, you may not be pen testing all the time. If you're working for a bigger company, you might be pen testing, but your pen test may not change that often. You may be testing the same stuff over and over again. But regardless, get your foot in the door and don't worry about that later on. If you want the variety, you get bored with pen testing, then you could take a job as a consultant. So I've also done some instruction. I worked at Dallas College for 3 years and 8 months. And, prior to that, I wanted to get into conference speaking, but I really wasn't sure what I wanted to speak about. And I did a talk that ended up becoming the Pentester Blueprint presentation that I gave at conferences. Was my first day of class lecture that I gave at the college each semester. And I started teaching back in January of 2018. Some of the other instructors at the school would ask me to come in and present this talk to their students, their cybersecurity students. So as time went on, I thought, I should turn this into a conference talk. So by the time November of 2018 rolled around, I presented it at my first Security B-Sides conference in Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth B-Sides. So I presented there, started presenting at a bunch of different conferences. I was in the Tribe of Hackers Red Team book, and the publisher, Wylie Publishing, since I'd shared on LinkedIn that I was in the book, they asked me if I had any book ideas. And I had an idea about creating a book based on the Pentester Blueprint talk. So that's where the talk came about in the book, came out of that. So I'm also a founder of a group called the Pwn School Project. I was running 2 in-person meetups per month, one in Denton, Texas, one in Dallas, Texas. When the pandemic hit, I went virtual. I was already offering my classes virtually and streaming the Pwn School meetings. So when the pandemic hit, I just didn't have to travel to set up my streaming for our talks and stuff. Haven't done much with the Pwn School Project here lately. When I present at conferences, it's usually under the Pwn School brand. I'm also the DC 940 founder and point of contact. I started that group in Denton last year, and I basically rebranded one of our Pwn School groups because I thought it would bring more brand awareness and bring more people in. And the first month it was DC 940, we doubled the attendance. So rebranding worked well. And what it also did is people are looking for local security groups. They look on the local DEF CON website and they can find different groups in their areas. So people were able to find us that weren't finding us before. And so the Pentester Blueprint, I did have a co-author, but I'm the concept creator. One of the things I learned from writing that book is it's okay to ask for help. I'm really bad about not asking for help. And I was getting to a point where I couldn't fill the close to 200 pages of the book. I'm a really straight to the point writer. I don't write a lot of fluff. And I was trying to think, what can I do? I was either going to self-publish, but I already had a contract to write the book. I don't like to leave tasks unfinished. I could have went self-publish route and all that. And so I just decided, maybe I could get a co-author. And I reached out to Kim Crawley, and Kim contributed to the book. We got the book completed, and it's been a good resource. One of the values of the book, and one of my reasons is, meeting groups like this, different conferences, presenting on it, only gives you so much limited opportunity. There's some cases, a lot of conferences I haven't spoke at, may never speak in, a lot of different groups and stuff I'm unaware of or unaware of me. So writing a book was able to put the information out there more readily accessible for folks that didn't know me or know anything of me. And, a lot of things I do, my goal is to help others get started in security. I like mentoring and I like teaching. And when I started teaching and doing all the mentoring activities, I really found my purpose in life. I've always been a competitive person, always wanted to be the best pen tester I could be, the best power lifter I could be. And I just kind of learned that life needs coaches, teachers, and mentors. And I was better in those roles than I was as a pen tester. I was a good pen tester, but trying to continue to learn and progress in that, I just felt this was my, I feel this is my place. This is my purpose in life. And I've really enjoyed things. One of the things I'll say is, call it karma or whatever you want to call it, whatever your religious beliefs may be. I kind of feel like a lot of the success I got was when I opened up to teaching and mentoring. I've had a lot of opportunities since then, and a lot of it's been due to that. So, and I'm also a host of the Hacker Factory podcast, which Eric was actually a guest on. And I interviewed different people. When it started out, it was a lot of things, just like Pwn School. When it started out, it was going to be mainly offensive security focused. But I saw the need for education in other areas. Sometimes you have to kind of adjust your plan. You start out doing something, and there's a better way of doing things. There's needs that need to be filled, so you just kind of change things up. So not all my guests now are from an offensive security background. I've had some people that hadn't gotten in the industry yet, but they had a really good story that I thought would be inspirational and help others. So might be something for you to check out. And the interesting thing is the stories. Everyone has a different story. Which story is their favorite? I've had Dave Kennedy on there, and people would think maybe the Dave Kennedy episode was the most popular, but there's a lot of people that reach out to me that I had Lily Clark on there. They liked her episode. I had a coworker that we used to do CAD drafting together. He went from a CAD drafter into security, into pen testing, and a lot of people heard his story and they related to it. So these stories are different for everyone. Everyone's got, different needs and learning, different things motivate them. So sharing the different stories helps that. And part of the inspiration of this was when I was teaching my course at Dallas College, I'd bring in different guests to share their story, how they got started and just come in and talk about pen testing. And that just kind of inspired me because I thought these stories need to be out there. And so that was part of the inspiration for the Pen Tester or the Hacker Factory podcast. So this slide I like to share. And part of this is because it helps inspire people, because I was this big, dumb power lifter, or I thought I was dumb. In high school, I didn't take high school serious enough. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. I was a power lifter and a big guy. You can kind of see in the pictures, how big I was back then. And my high school friends said, you should be a pro wrestler. And so I thought that sounds interesting, because when I graduated high school back in 1984, there were computer classes, but it was mainly the smart kids, the honor students that were in the computer classes. I had no idea about computers, didn't even know it'd be fun or interesting to get into. We had Mac labs with art computers, with Macs for doing art related graphics design. And then we had the IBM PCs for more, standard types of processing and basic computing type skills. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I became a pro wrestler. I went to a wrestling school and I wrestled for a couple years. I went to wrestling school with The Undertaker. I wrestled the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express. I wrestled Mick Foley, who wrestled in Dallas as Cactus Jack Manson. And he's went on to wrestle as Dude Love and a lot of different other characters and stuff. And what happened was I got married and I needed a job that would provide health insurance and a more stable income. Because when I quit wrestling, I was making $25 a night at the Sportatorium here in Dallas, Texas. I'd wrestled for the WCW before. That's where I wrestled the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express and some of those other wrestling stars. But I needed a job that paid better, because while I was working wrestling, that was just like once a week if I was lucky. And the rest of the time I was working as a bouncer in a nightclub. And so during that time, I actually wrestled a bear. And you can see to the right, it's kind of hard to see this picture very well, but there's some pictures on the internet that gives you a better view of it. But it was a 750-pound bear. So any rate, I wrestled the bear. This is while I was working in a nightclub, and this kind of helped draw people into the nightclub. Anyone could wrestle the bear. And one of the reasons I share this is one of the things I've kind of learned in my career is branding. And one of the things I've learned is if you share things with people that are unusual about yourself, people will remember you. So a lot of people remember me because I used to be a wrestler or wrestled a bear. But at any rate, the main reason for sharing that story with people that are trying to get in the industry to inspire people is, I didn't think I had the abilities to learn how to do computers, much less ever work as a pen tester. So I worked a lot of different jobs. I worked in restaurants, bussing tables, washing dishes, serving food, cooking. I worked in a jewelry store once selling. I thought I really found my job. I was working as a jewelry salesman in this jewelry chain, The family that owned the store wanted me to become an assistant manager, maybe eventually manage a store. But the person that managed the store had different ideas. There was someone else, that worked in our store that he thought was a better fit. And, I was like, it was between her and I on the top salesperson each month. So we went back and forth on that. And, the family that owned these stores had kind of told me, and I kind of learned I had to take my career in my own hands. You can't hope that you're working somewhere that your manager is going to give you a promotion, because like any jobs, especially when you get to, some of the manual labor, service type skills, retail types scenarios, there's a lot of turnover there because it doesn't pay well. Someone finds a better paying job. So you don't know when some manager is going to leave that you had your opportunity. That was one of the things that also happened to me with me in wrestling. There was a promoter there that before the wrestling at the Sportatorium was owned by the Von Erichs at one time, and it got sold several times. There was a promoter there that wanted to send me to Kansas City to get experience. He moved on because of the sale. I lost that connection because back then we didn't have social media and people weren't on the internet connected or using email and that sort of thing. So unless you had their phone number or their address to send them a letter, you just didn't have a way to communicate. So I lost that connection. So their plan was to send me to Kansas, let me wrestle and get this experience and bring me back where I have to lose all the time. Because when you start out as a pro wrestler, you have to lose all the time. And so that's kind of where that went. And so that's kind of back into some of these other jobs like, retail sales, working in restaurants in the service industry. Sometimes if your management changes, that can help you. Sometimes it can hurt you. So I was kind of tired of just having to hope that I would get in a good position. I worked for a company once that they did fencing and different types of brickwork and that sort of thing. My uncle worked there and they brought me in and they wanted to, I didn't know at the time, but after I quit, because the job was, I was out in the sun, I just really didn't like the type of work. And I'm the type of person I really have to enjoy what I'm doing, or it's hard for me to stick with. But back on track. So what I did is after all these trial and error of trying things, I went to CAD school. So I learned AutoCAD. I learned how to use computers. When I started, I was like the worst in class. I knew the least about computers. I was the absolute worst. And then once I got out into the field, got exposure to computers, started working with them, a lot of the places I worked, I was one of the better people with using computers. They would have, a lot of these companies were small, didn't have an IT person on staff, or either they were in another city and only periodically came up. So I was able to figure out how to fix things on computers. I taught myself how to build computers as well. And so that got me interested in being a sysadmin. So I took a sysadmin course, 90-day sysadmin course, got a job on a server and workstation rollout. And so that's when I got into working as a sysadmin, working in IT. And then after I was in IT for about 5 years, I got interested in security. And after spending about 6.5 years as a sysadmin, I got a job doing network security. Then I moved into the AppSec team where I found out about PenTesting. And then I got laid off and I got a job as a pen tester. So I've worked as a pen tester, a red team lead, working in various different areas of offensive security. So the point of this is you can do anything you want. Just try it. Get out there and give it a try and learn it. For me, that's one of the biggest lessons I learned is just sometimes taking that first step and just doing it is the biggest step. Once you get in there learning and stuff, it can open up a whole new world. I remember prior to getting into IT and then security, I remember not being able to afford things. Back in my AutoCAD drafting days, I got divorced and I was making very little money. And the first thing I bought was a pair of cowboy boots. I couldn't afford things and, I couldn't afford to buy music, albums and stuff. And then once I got into, working as sysadmin, especially once I got into security and being a pen tester, it opened up a lot of doors and I was able to afford and do a lot of things I couldn't do. I came from a blue collar family. My dad was a welder. The fortunate thing for me of my family, they were very encouraging. Anything I wanted to do, they encouraged me. Even when I went into wrestling, how crazy it sounded like my dad wanted better for me than what he did. And what he did was a respectable career, but my dad was like a second generation welder. His dad was a welder. Him and his brother were welders. So, this really worked out for me that I followed my passion and once you do this, it opens up all sorts of doors for you. So what is pen testing? Pen testing is assessing security the same way a threat actor, an adversary, or malicious hacker would do. And when I say, pay attention to the malicious hacker, because not all hackers are bad. A lot of your pen testers, bug bounty people, they're hackers. So hacking is a useful skill. Just like picking locks as a locksmith, that could be done illegally. But make sure you're using the right terminology, because you're trying to break in the industry. You're using the terminology wrong. You could offend someone that could be helping you get into the industry. You're assessing the security the way a threat actor would, testing the security controls in that same type of manner. Back when I got into pen testing in 2012, there weren't as many people doing it, but PCI compliance brought about that demand. So there wasn't a requirement before to have pen test done. Now you have different compliance regulations that require that. So back in those days, usually consultants were taking care of that. And what happened over the years, as the PCI need grew, companies couldn't afford to pay, consultants, because, consulting companies, they're charging around $300 an hour to perform a pen test. And you could, in some cases, hire full-time people to do some of that. So you don't have to have, you don't have to rely solely on consultants. And so that really helped the industry grow, because back in 2012 and 2013, I would go to local cybersecurity meetup groups like Dallas Hackers Association, our local OWASP group, go to conferences. And I remember being at meetings, and there would be only one or two of us, maybe three of us in a room that were pen testers. And now you go to the meetings and there's quite a few pen testers. That field's grown. So there's a lot of need for pen testers. And the thing is, there's a lot of people going into that role, but there's still a lot of open positions. So, don't worry about the timing. The timing is still good and it's still needed. A lot of companies are just starting to build their own pen test teams, realizing that they need pen testers, because the benefit of pen testing is, from an attacker's perspective, you're testing the security. And that's the way a threat actor is going to do when they're trying to break into your company. They're going to use those same similar tools and techniques to break in. So we need to keep that in mind. When you just do the blue team thing, you're just building the defenses. You don't always know if they're effective. If you get breached, then that's possible. But a way to try to avoid that is to have a pen test performed. So that way you're able to find these holes and block them before someone else can get in. And so one of the most common terms you're going to hear is ethical hacking. And that's usually more easy to explain than penetration testing to people that aren't working in the industry, that hadn't studied the topic or unfamiliar with it. So you need experience. So this talk that I'm giving is based on a talk that I did for SANS Hacker Pen Test Fest last November. And instead of just going through the pen tester blueprint, I dig a little deeper in here on what you need to get experience-wise to be able to get a job as a pen tester. And so the tools you need experience with, if you're looking at the OSCP, if you started looking at the OSCP from Offensive Security, on their exam, you can't use things like Nessus or vulnerability scanners. So you have to do it manually. It's good to learn it manually, but at the same time too, if you're going to work for a company, they want you to be able to know how to use vulnerability scanners. So learning how to use vulnerability scanners, you can download a free copy of Nessus from Tenable's website. I believe it's called Nessus Essentials. And you can scan up to 16 IP addresses with that one license. And that's a pretty good size home lab. Or if you're in a lab or cloud-based environment, you could use Nessus there, because there's, 16 IP addresses is pretty big for a home lab environment. So getting that experience, knowing how to do that, because, a lot of cases, if you're interviewing against someone that's been through the OSCP, they know how to do things manually, they're going to want you to know how to use vulnerability scanners. So although manual testing is important, it's good to understand how to use vulnerability scanners. And so using different Linux pen testing distributions like Kali Linux and Parrot OS are really good. And also even learning how to use Windows is important too. And some of the different tools, because back when it was interesting, because early on in pen testing, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of the tools were Windows based, and a lot of your pen testing and hacking tools were built on Windows. But then people started building tools for Linux, and then they started building Linux distributions specialized for hacking and pen testing. And so the industry kind of moved that way. But now, years later, Active Directory is a bigger target. There's a lot of good tools for hacking Active Directory, and those are Windows tools, like your PowerShell tools and different administrator tools that are helpful for doing a security assessment or be able to hack into a Windows environment. So understanding how to use the tools in both a Linux and Windows environment is very important. So different pen testing tools like Nmap and Metasploit are very important. And a lot of these tools are already installed in Kali Linux or Parrot OS, or either it's built into that distribution where you can easily install. When you're trying to install on your own, which is still a good exercise to go through, installing these tools like an Ubuntu is good, but there's missing softwares that you can't get some of these things to run very easily. So you have to install a lot of different softwares, like, maybe it requires Golang, maybe it requires some Perl modules and all these things to get it to run. So Kali Linux and Parrot OS makes it a lot easier to do that. And so also understanding how to use web app pen testing tools like Burp Suite, OWASP Zap, and different web application vulnerability scanners. Because just like you have your network vulnerability scanner like Nessus, Nexpose, and Qualys, you also have your web application scanners, which are sometimes referred to as dynamic application security testing tools, or DAST. So understanding how to use those are important. Burp Suite has a community edition, which it leaves out a lot of the functions and they kind of slow it down, but OWASP Zap is totally free. OWASP does most of what Burp Suite does, and so you can perform a pen test with OWASP Zap. And it's good to use a variety of tools. Even though I have a commercial license of Burp Suite, I also use OWASP Zap in Scan with That, because sometimes a scanner may not be able to find vulnerabilities that another one does. I've been on pen tests before where the client had a specific vulnerability scanner and I was running Nessus and found things. And there's been instances where I've found things that Nessus or Burp Suite didn't find that was an open source command line tool like Nik2. And Nik2 is a really good web application vulnerability scanner and server scanner that you can find default credentials and vulnerabilities. I've found vulnerabilities and passwords that help me get a foothold into servers that I've been testing before on pen test. So understand how to use those tools. One of the best places to start is probably TryHackMe, because TryHackMe is a very good user-friendly platform, because you get into some of these other ones and offensive security's kind of come around, as well as TryHackMe. I mean, Hack the Box, they're starting to have more educational content and make it more friendly to beginners. But TryHackMe is a good place to start. They have a lot of free content and it's very inexpensive. So those are good places to practice those skills. So understanding networking and operating systems, Windows and Linux are very popular. Yeah, David, that's a good one. Nuclei is a very good one. And actually, I found out from Jason Haddock's last weekend, I was on NahamSec's live recon stream, and he was telling me that saying that one of the creators of Nik2 actually works on Nuclei. So Bishop Fox has some really good articles on using Nuclei. So that's the thing about this industry. All these open source and free tools are constantly evolving and you have to keep up with them. But Nuclei, that's a good one. Good recommendation there, David. And so you need to build the hacking and pen testing skills. So whenever I got my first pen testing job, I didn't have the hacking and pen testing skills. I knew how to run vulnerability scanners. I had some security skills. I had my sysadmin background, which was very helpful in helping me become a pen tester. So understanding Windows and Linux from sysadmin level is very helpful. So if you get command line access or a shell to a system, if it's Windows, the Windows command line, then you're going to be a lot more successful than if you don't. So, make sure to understand the operating systems. It's fun to learn the hacking, but I'll make sure to include those basics in there. Reverse engineering is another good skill to have. I've been on pen tests before where I've found Java jar files or APK files for Android, and go through and reverse engineer those and find connections to databases. They may have hard-coded passwords and usernames, and the database information, maybe you can use those to hack into it. So reverse engineering is a good one. Coding or scripting, this is something that you don't have to get started. It's kind of optional, but as you get in, it's kind of good to know. Learning how to read the code for doing reverse engineering. What really helped me a lot in that was going through the OSCP I learned how to do some reverse engineering and pick up things in code that were insecure. And so as you progress, start with scripting with like Python, maybe even use something like Golang, and you can get into more programming as you go. Some of the best pen testers out there know how to code, but not required. I mean, you look at Alyssa Knight, one of the best in the industry, and she doesn't know how to code, which really surprised me when I interviewed her on my podcast, that she didn't know how to code. So there's a lot of tools out there. The evolution of the tool set, like Burp Suite. Before Burp Suite, when you were going to brute force a password login, you had to use something like Hydra, which still automated things. But then the problem with Hydra was there's a lot of things you have to go through and research to figure out how to brute force the password. And so a lot of these tools have made it easier. So mobile devices and hardware, understanding those. So if you're really good with Android or iOS devices, tablets, and that sort of thing, that may be an area for you to start out in pen testing. If you understand that area, because you take some of the more experienced pen testers, they may have totally skipped over learning mobile devices. So knowing mobile devices and hardware is very important. Even like the IoT stuff, there's IoT pen testers, but there's not an overabundance of IoT pen testers. Same thing with cloud. Some of the people that have been in the industry for a while just never took up those skills, and a lot of companies were late to adopt, security on those type of platforms. And so those are good opportunities there. So getting the hands-on experience, so real world experience you can get through bug bounties. This is crowdsourced pen testing. So you've probably all heard of BugCrowd, HackerOne, and Synac. Synac kind of falls more under the pen testing as a service, and BugCrowd has kind of moved into this space too. With the bug bounty, you go find a bug, and if you're lucky, you get paid for it. In some cases, certain level bugs you don't get paid for. Pen testing as a service, Cobalt, Synac, BugCrowd, these companies are paying you to perform a pen test. Now, someone like Cobalt, starting out with them, they're paying $1,500 for like 30 or 35 hours of pen testing, which if you're just getting started out, that's good money. But once you get the experience, you can make a lot more money than that. And from what I heard, I think Synac may pay like closer to $100 an hour for their pen testing. And so it's a way to get experience. And then once you get that experience, then you can move on to the better paying pen test jobs. Back in 2020, I was looking for a new job, and one of the companies I interviewed with, they told me that it was easier to find web app pen testers because of bug bounties. And this is not to say there's not still a bunch of web app jobs. There are. It's just easier for hiring managers to find people with those skills because there's more opportunities out there to get the experience, because there's not a lot of opportunities where you get to do the infrastructure stuff. Now, if you do pen tests as a service, you may be able to do that, but it's hard to get the infrastructure pen testing experience. See, Eric is talking old school right there. Saint, that's one I hadn't heard in a long time. Yep. And mentioned Satan. They had some creative names for stuff back then too. And then you had like some of the old password crackers back in the day that was like Loft Crack for password cracking and stuff. Jack the Ripper, actually John the Ripper. He actually used John the Ripper on several pen tests. It was kind of the password or hash cracker before Hashcat came about. So you can also do some pro bono pen testing. So if you attend some church or nonprofits that you're associated with, if they need pen testing, you could offer to do pen tests for them so you can get some experience. And, not only doing pro bono pen test, you can also do some discounted or low price pen test, low cost pen test. I have a good friend of mine that he kind of started doing this, and he did a pen test for a church, and he's getting $1,000 to do the pen test. That's a good deal for the church, but most companies would charge more for that. So some of the pen testing you do for some of these organizations, it doesn't always have to be free. It could be low cost, and be able to document, real world experience is helpful. And also, this is another tip that's been out there for a while, but someone that's brought a lot of popularity to it. And I really noticed how Joe Helly, the mayor, had been working a lot with this. And I don't know if you are familiar with Michael Padrick. He goes by Fearless on Twitter. He was a pool cleaner, and now he works as a pen tester. And one of the things that helped him, along with some certifications he got, was they learned how to find CVEs, and these are basically finding some vulnerabilities that someone hasn't detected. You get a CVE number, and at one time this was more common, and nowadays in the pen testing field and bug bounty field, not everyone has CVE. So if you have a CVE, you're able to get a credential that a lot of experienced pen testers may not have experience with. So I recommend kind of checking out some of Joe's article on Medium on how he's bored one night and found 2 CVEs. So that's really good information. So that's a good resource there, Eric. VulnHub, that was one of the resources I found out from my students in my first classes, and I like to vet resources before I recommend them to people. And the thing about VulnHub, if you're going to study for the OSCP, that's a good one because it starts out really easy and kind of guides you on how to hack the target. As it gets more difficult, they give you less hints. So they kind of start you out easy and then build you up. So as you build the skills, you should need less help. And there's also like an Android device in that environment too, which is kind of fun, hacking a Android device that's connected to a network. And so simulated experience, CTFs, Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Home Labs, and just like Eric had mentioned, VulnHub, that's another good one. You have over the wire and under the wire CTF, which are online CTF environments. Over the wire is more Windows based. Let's see. Over the wire is, I guess, more Linux. Under the wire is more Windows based. So learning how to hack in those different environments, those are totally free. And building a home lab. But the thing is with, I used to be more, it was a high recommendation. I still recommend it, but with all the cloud-based stuff, sometimes, you could be out there spending your time hacking and learning opposed to building a lab, which you can go either way. If you don't have the hardware to build a home lab, then there's all these other resources online. Home labs can be very simple as putting VMware or VirtualBox and some vulnerable VMs on your workstation and doing that. But then again, like the online stuff, the Metasploitable series, Damn Vulnerable Web App. There's a lot of different vulnerable apps out there. Juice Shop, a lot of good resources on learning. So, getting the simulated experience, although you get that, what I would also start working on too is start trying to work towards the bug bounty and getting the real world experience. ETFs are a good opportunity. If you're going to college, colleges have the National Cyber League competitions, and hiring managers will look at the rankings of National Cyber League and offer people jobs from that. You have the CCDC competitions. It's like a red team, blue team type competition and those type of things. And then the CTFs are a really good way to get experience. Some companies will hire based on how people perform on CTFs. So someone mentioned Snap Labs. Yeah, Snap Labs is a good one. I was using that for some of my workshops a while back. That's a really nice one. And also too, if you want to learn Splunk, there's like a Splunk template in there. So you're able to go through and use Splunk templates if you want to learn Splunk, and very cool environment. Even Rasta Mouse, that has the 0-point security red team operator certification course, uses Snap Labs now. So like Eric mentioned, US Cyber Team, that's another good one too. Yep, that's very important that Kevin sharing there. So A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. And if you don't have that sysadmin background, that's where you can kind of start. Because like Professor Messer has videos on A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, a lot of good free resources there. And so showcasing your experience, showcasing report writing and coding skills. So go through and create a GitHub or even a Medium and do write-ups on some of the bug bounties and stuff you've done. Prove your report writing skills. Even do some videos. I mean, a lot of people have gotten jobs in the industry from content creation. Another prime example is look at the Cyber Mentor. The Cyber Mentor got in the industry because he did some really awesome educational content on YouTube that he was offering for free and low price. And he wasn't a pen tester. He started out by building this content, and then this helped him make money off content. He's got his own company now. So there's so many ways of getting into the industry that the content creation's a big deal. So GitHubs, Medium, doing write-ups on this stuff, showing your writing skills, presenting it at different conferences and meetups. Because I know a guy that is in our local community. He just graduated from college, and he did a talk on malware, embedding malware in a spreadsheet. And there was someone from Citibank was in the audience, saw that, and asked for his resume, and he ended up getting hired on the spot. So sometimes when you do these live demos at conferences and stuff, you show people your skills, just like showcasing on GitHub, Medium, YouTube, different video platforms and stuff. Find what you're comfortable with. If you're, and that's even look at Kevin too. I've seen Kevin's stuff out there on his IT skills. I mean, one of the things too, and I'm sure Kevin will tell you that what he's done there has helped him. Eric will tell you with his content creation, that stuff helps him too. You got Eric, you guys didn't have to get a troll for your organization. You had one to come with it. So, but yeah. And so one of the things is too, is when you're getting into this, don't feel like you're too new to share. There's always someone that you're a step ahead of them. There's things that they don't know. I mean, I learn things all the time from people I mentor and others in the industry, because one of the things that's advantage, you don't discount the new person. You go to you see someone like Eric that's got 100 years of cybersecurity experience, and they know stuff, but then you take someone that hasn't been in that long, they're exposed to some of the newer platforms and technologies and learning opportunities out there. So yeah, make sure you share. Don't feel like you don't know something. Go present at talks. If you're interested in speaking at conferences, there's some conferences that have tracks that are dedicated to new people getting into the industry. Use everything you can, because when it comes to branding and trying to get a job, you're like a salesperson. You're trying to sell the customer, the hiring manager, on you and why they should hire you. So, don't neglect the soft skills, writing, be able to write. You may have excellent writing skills that you've used in a different job, or you're just really good. You did really well learning to write in school, and make sure to use those skills. So that pretty much concludes it. We can open up to question and answer, and here's some information there. So you can find my podcast, connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter. Some of you already are. And on YouTube, I share a playlist of my PenTesting course from Dallas College. It was based on the PenTest Plus. So I have a whole semester of lectures on YouTube, which may be a good place to start if you want to learn how to pentest. Go out there, watch those videos, get a good idea, then just start proceeding with Try Hack Me, Heath's stuff, the Cyber Mentor, and Nahum Sec has some really good stuff out there. Stoke, Rana Khalil has a lot of great information out there. Insider PhD. So there's a lot of great resources. So start with the free stuff, free to cheap, and then move on as you build your skills. And one of the things too, I encourage people is experiment with different things in security. I'm not going to discourage you to not be a pen tester, but try different things. I had a person on my team at US Bank that he started out in IT, was going to move over to digital forensics. He was taking SANS courses, which his family was helping him, was paying for his SANS courses so he could learn and get a better job. And one semester he thought, maybe I'll take a pen testing course that'll help me be better at digital forensics. He took the pen testing course and loved it and moved. And there's been people that have been pen testers that did pen testing for a while and fell in love with threat hunting or digital forensics. So the more you know about different areas, the better. And if you don't start in pen testing and that's where you want to go, get your foot in the door, because your IT skills are going to help you. Because looking, for instance, you got Kevin on here. Kevin's IT background, if he wanted to be a pen tester, he'd be really good. He's going to understand the infrastructure stuff. So it's a good thing for him. If you're a web developer, or maybe you've taken some development classes in school, maybe the application side is a better place for you to learn pen testing wise. So I hope this was helpful. Like I said, we can open up to questions and I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, thank you very much. In my career, I started out in certification and accreditation, and I moved into vulnerability management with, like we were joking, Saint and Satan. And I went to digital forensics, and I fell in love with, after doing AppSec and all the other areas, I fell in love with the blue side. So I started more offensive, or purple, how we call it, and I fell in love with the defensive side. So it it can go both ways. So it's all like Philip says, experiment with your career. You're going to find your passion.
And the thing about this field too, I've seen people that'll work 8 to 5 and they cut it off and don't do anything else. That's not safe, but when you're starting out, you have to put some time and investment in. So if it's something you're passionate about, something you enjoy, then it's almost fun. Because if you're someone that gets into gaming, then CTFs and the pen testing stuff may be more fun. But that's the nice thing about the different CTF platforms. Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. They kind of gamify it, make it fun. A good way to get educated.
All right. Do we have any questions from anybody on the audience? If you do, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Anyone?
I have a question. Hello, everybody.
Oh no, it's Vanessa.
It's me. Hi, Philip. Thank you so much
Hi.
for taking your time to talk with us today. It's a privilege to hear you speak, and I apologize for my child in the background.
It's no problem. It's an honor.
The question that I have is, if we write, I guess, blog posts about our progress through our learning for, let's say, through Try Hack Me or Capture the Flags, does that count, in your opinion, as experience in pen testing, or
Yes.
I guess in hacking or anything? Oh,
Yes,
cool.
it does. And one of the things is add sections to your, under education on your resume. Talk about the things you're doing. I mean, you can list the rank where you're at on Try Hack Me or Hack the Box. List some of the different things you've worked on. So under education, if you don't have the actual experience, and on NahumSec's YouTube channel, he did a stream with Jason Haddix a while back, and they were talking about how to use stuff from Bug Bounty and from your studies and stuff to include that. And also, DFIR Diva, I saw her do a blog post or something a while back where she was showing on how to demonstrate, under your education section, put things like you're doing. And I recently had Quentin Rhodes Herrera on my podcast, and one of the things he really prefers that kind of stuff over some of the certifications, seeing that people are doing Try Hack Me and Hack the Box and CTFs. So yeah, document that on your resume and your LinkedIn, put it under like your education. And one of the things I do too, I see some people that will put things on their resume. And one of the things I would do is, if you're not working in pen testing, put aspiring pen tester on your title on LinkedIn. Aspiring, you're not misrepresenting yourself and saying you're doing something you're not, but you're telling people I'm a pen tester in training or whatever. So that helps, that keyword or pen tester on your LinkedIn profile will draw views and stuff. So
yeah. And put things like, if you do Udemy courses or any other courses that are not, your typical education, you're still learning things. You're still working through things. Put them in your resume, because that's education. That's knowledge you're getting. So put it in there.
Especially say if you wanted to be a pen tester, if you go to college, you're going to be lucky if they've got like an ethical hacking class. So using Udemy, Coursera, and a lot of these other options, Cyber Mentor, anything you can think of, eLearn Security, INE, or Offensive Security, put that on there. Some of that's better education than what you get in a college for pen testing.
Yeah.
Because not always you get someone that's teaching it that's experienced. Now there's exceptions, always exceptions, but attending some of the Black Hill stuff, that you're getting someone with a lot of experience teaching you. And so those things a lot of times will carry more weight with a hiring manager that's hiring pen testers.
All right. Any other questions?
There was a question before from a broadcast about how to write better the reports for the pen test. And starting, I would like to say that people that don't know a broadcast is a god at note taking with Obsidian. I say he's perfect for the technical side of the report. And for the more theoretical part of the report, I would say just become better at the executive's summary, because that's what the executives will be reading and will take actions based on that.
Yeah, one of the things you can do as well too is when you're doing Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, do a write up on it. Pretend like just treat it like you're writing a pen test report. Another good practice too is go through. One of the things we did at some of my first pen testing jobs, because some people will take the output from like Nessus and put it in the report. But one of the things that good consulting companies will do is go look at these vulnerabilities, go in there and look at the vulnerability, write it up and reword it in your own language, not plagiarizing. Go through and practice writing up those different vulnerabilities, writing a little short paragraph about that vulnerability. Like I said, go back and if you're doing Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, treat it like a pen test report, write it up, learn how to, there's some, I think the Cyber Mentor and the Mayor both have some stuff on pen testing reports. PlexTrack is a report writing system. From time to time, they do things on writing pen test reports. So that just, one of the things is improving your writing skills. Because for me, when I was in high school, I didn't take school seriously. And so when I went back to college and got an associate's degree, the best class I took out of that time getting my associate's degree was my English composition class, because I learned how to write. I couldn't write properly. So that's another thing too. You go to a college or find some writing course online, even like a tech writing course, because some of these pen testing companies that have money, consulting money, these consulting companies have a lot of money. They'll hire tech writers to write pen test reports. I've never been lucky to have that type of job where the pen testers go out, find the vulnerabilities, give it to a tech writer, and they write everything up. But, tech writing courses would be good. Just learning how to write better. I mean, and that's one of the things that would, a company will hire you over someone that's a better hacker, be able to communicate better, even verbally, conduct yourself professionally. Those are different things to work on. And if you're in public speaking, the thing to help me, before that, I never could do anything like this, but I went to Toastmasters. It's some of the cheapest professional development training you'll ever get.
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to do here in the Discord is we're going to do a Raíces Toastmasters type events so that people can learn how to be on camera and be able to speak to audiences. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Toastmasters for hackers.
Sounds great.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hey there, it's Red Pelias. Thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it. Something I was wondering about is when you started doing the whole pen testing thing, did you find yourself with mentors? How did you find one? Or if it took you a while, like how did that set up for you? The whole mentoring thing.
For me, really didn't. I had some people I worked with that could help out, but I really didn't have mentoring, during my pen testing career. There's people I'd work with I could ask questions, or, there's people on the team that we would share different tools and I could ask questions to. But one of the things I will say is get a mentor. That's one of probably my biggest regrets in my career, is not really having someone mentor me and help me become a pen tester. That's one of the things I wished. And there's actually times that I really have considered trying to find a mentor to help me do better in my career in other areas. But yeah, I would definitely look into mentoring, find a mentor, and even doing mentoring. I used to do mentoring for the ACP program, and they were mentoring people that were coming out of the military trying to move into a civilian job. And I had a young man that I was mentoring there that while I was mentoring him, he was mentoring other people. So, I mean, help and mentor others. But yeah, one of the things too, if you're looking for mentors, I'm sure Raices is a good platform, but other things to do too is on Mondays on Twitter, they have Cyber Mentor Monday.
Okay.
And if you reply to that, say, hey, I need a mentor for this, people reply if they have some time to help mentor you. And one of the things I would recommend too is you don't have to have a full-time dedicated mentor. It's good to have several people you can talk to.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't have the time to give you all the time. And that's kind of the way I like to, the style of mentoring I like is someone needs help, they reach out to me. I'll have a call with them. It'll be more involved at first, but then it's like from time to time, they can ask me a question or, you know, help with this or that, you know, periodically checking in. So I think, in my opinion, I think having multiple mentors, because there's going to be people that are really good at stuff, seeing Kim on here. Kim's good for, she's got some really good skills of branding and stuff. Reach out to those people. Everyone's got their different skills on things. You may have someone that understands the hacking piece, and, you can reach out to someone like Kevin for some of the more, IT related skills. So it's good to have kind of a group, a team of mentors that you can reach out to.
Yeah, and have your little mastermind group is what I have is I have people that are kind of in the same level as where I am, and we reach out to each other and ask questions because, somebody knows more about some topic than others. So we kind of help each other. So have your little mastermind group and also have a group of mentors. And teach somebody, because you learn, like David said, who teach learns twice.
Yep. And that's one of the biggest things that help. That's one of the biggest things that helped me in my career was teaching. When I started teaching, that kind of opened up, not even find my purpose, okay, but I learned so much from it. When you take even some of the basic stuff, sometimes you really want to get to the level, and this is going to help you in your career, because if you're talking to management or people that are outside of security, be able to explain things in terms anyone can understand is a very useful skill set. And that's probably one of the best things that I've learned.
Yeah, I agree fully with the teaching side of things, because I graduated as a telecommunications engineer, and I remember this class about, what was it? Well, it was about microprocessors. And in that class, the teacher got me to teach the class sometimes because I was reading all the books. I was trying to comprehend the topics. And by teaching other students, I learned the best about that class. And that helped me a lot to pass that class because it was really hard. I think I read like 6,000 pages of a book, of multiple books.
Good. That's awesome.
All right, guys. So we're now at the top of the hour here. So again, Phil, thank you very, very much for making time on a Saturday to speak to us. As always, you are a big part of Raíces and our community. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And I'll see you in 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
So it'll be fun. So again, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for being here. Do you have any last words?
No, just one of the things is, don't, in life, we've got so many blockers, so many things where people try to discourage you. Sometimes it's just through jealousy. Sometimes it's because it took, you run into people that have been in the industry like David and I have that aren't always so helpful. Sometimes they're trying to be helpful, saying they think it took them 20 or 30 years. It took them that long to get there. They think it's going to take you that long. They think because, I didn't start out in security, there really wasn't much of an option at the time. And you hear a lot of people that will give any advice. No, you have to work on help desk first. You got to do desktop support. You have to do this or that before you can be a pen tester. No, you don't. I've seen a lot of people jump into it. Their very first job they wanted was their dream job. So, and don't discourage yourself. Try it. It doesn't hurt you to try.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you very much. And this concludes another Summer of Cyber session here at Raíces Cyber. So I hope you join us next week. And don't forget, we have our CTF. Go to our Twitter to register. It's a fundraiser for our team going to DEF CON in Vegas at the Global Cyber Games. It's going to be a wonderful learning opportunity. Do those CTFs. We're going to have some rooms here in the Discord to help through some of the challenges for some of the new people. So it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. It's a meta CTF, which are very good to learn. So please come and see us. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.